Good afternoon, students. So today's topic is about doctor-patient relationship or the physician-patient relationship. Okay, so the doctor and the patient are two different individuals. They have a relationship. Okay, so sociology is all about relationships between people, and the patient and the doctor have a unique relationship. There are some expectations that the doctor has from the patient, some expectation that the patient has from the doctor. So Talcott Parsons' sick role theory is what we studied about. It also talks about the professionalism. Okay, so a doctor is a professional who behaves in a professional manner to the patient. At the same time, the patient is thought to be somebody who is sick, and he goes big to the doctor because he has a need to become better. At the same time, the doctor is the one who decides whether the patient is sick or not. Okay, so that is the sick role theory. The doctor has the authority to decide whether the patient is really sick. So that is a one kind of relationship where the doctor actually plays a major role in determining the role of the patient. So the next paragraph says doctor-patient relationship is an important determinant of quality healthcare. When we studied the second chapter on determinants of health, I have told you that there are various factors that play a role: the gender, the ethnicity, the income levels. So all these play a role on the determinants of health. Same way, the relationship between the doctor and the patient plays a major role in the quality of health. Suppose the patient has a fight with the doctor. Do you think the doctor will give proper care to the patient? May not be. There may be some gap. The doctor may not be very responsive to the patient. So we have to see that the relationship between the doctor and the patient should be very good. So till some 30 years back, that is till 1990 or so, doctors were considered nearly like gods, because they were the ones who treated the sick person and made them become better. So the relationship between the doctor and the patient was very different from what it is today. Even today, a lot of people consider doctors to be very important people, but some 30 years back to 50 years back, the doctors were considered nearly like gods. So but the present generation, if you see in 2020, what we can say is the relationship between doctors and patients is not as it was some 30 to 40 years back. There are several reasons for this change in the relationships and change in the behavior. Some of the common reasons is the commercialization. Okay, commercialization means that doctors want to make money from patients. So any hospital, if you go, one of the main things is the patient will be paying a lot of money to the hospital. So that is normal. But if you go to a shop, you decide what you want to buy. But in a hospital, the doctor decides what treatment you will get. So that is a difference. So if you go to a big supermarket, you can buy a 5 rupee soap or a 100 rupee soap. You can buy a 5 rupee 500 rupee cell phone or a 50,000 rupee cell phone. So the decision is yours. But when you go to the doctor, the treatment is decided by the doctor. You do not know how to challenge that. So that is why a lot of rift is happening between the doctor and the patient. So commercialization means the institution making money from patients. And the other thing is the specialization of the medicine. That is, these days technology is improved, and patients and patient care is mainly dependent on the specialization. So doctors decide what treatment you get, and that is based on the MRI or CT scan or X-ray or ECG or ultrasound scan which they write. So the doctors actually depend on the technology. So the patient feels that technology is much more important than the doctor. So there are various reasons why the doctor-patient relationship has changed. So previously there was a personal relationship between the doctor and the patient. The doctor knew all about the patient and his patient's family. But these days that relationship is different. It is more like a professional relationship and more like a uh, business relationship. So that there is a change in the relationship. Okay, so let us see what are the different types of relationship. We can say the two different relationships are instrumental and expressive. Okay, so what is instrumental? Instrument, as the name indicates, instrument means based on an instrument. So the doctor performs a lot of diagnostic tests, and based on this he also does physical examination and then prescribes the treatment. Okay, here he considers the patient like a instrument, like the patient has tests done, examinations done, and then the patient is treated. the, so when you consider a patient as an instrument, you do not have a good rapport with the patient, you do not have a close relationship with the patient. You consider the patient as some sort of instrument. Okay, so this is one type of doctor patient relationship. The next type of relationship is the expressive relationship. As the name indicates, expressive means you have a expression or you talk to the patient. So the doctor and the patient has a different kind of relationship where they share warmth and empathy. That is, there is some sort of bond between the doctor and the patient. So this is expressive component. So these are the two dimensions of doctor patient relationship. Then we can also see there are three models of doctor patient relationship. Okay, the first model is the activity passivity model. Okay, so active passive model, you can say active passive model means one person is active and one person is passive. What is active? The one person who decides what other person has to do. So the doctor decides everything for the patient. Okay, whereas the patient is quiet, the patient does not have anything to say, the patient cannot tell anything to the doctor. So this is the active passive model. The patient's mouth is closed, he cannot decide what treatment he should take, only the doctor decides. Okay, so this is the active passive model, and this is not the best model in a doctor patient relationship. Okay, so the second model is the guidance cooperation model. So this is the most prevalent model which is present these days. Okay, so what is guidance cooperation model? The doctor guides and the patient cooperates. This is because the patient thinks that the doctor knows best about the health of the patient. So here there is at least some cooperation from the patient, and the doctor is not like a dictator, he is more like a guide. So active passive model is one person talks, other person is quiet. Here one person guides, the other person responds. So it is at a little better level. So this is more prevalent in the world today. But the best model of a doctor patient relationship would be the mutual participation model. So this is a model where there is shared responsibility. The doctor and the patient together share responsible for the decisions and the treatment. I will come back to the example of coronavirus. Okay, the doctor tells you to wash your hands, the doctor tells you to wear a mask. So it is up to you whether you wear a mask or wash your hands. If you wear it, you will benefit. If you do not wear it, you will suffer. So this is like the shared responsibility. But the same thing in the previous model, what the doctor would have done, he would have put you in a hospital and inside 4 doors. Okay, so you cannot go out. So that is the previous active passive model. But present model is mutual participation model. So the patient respects the doctor, same way the doctor respects the patient, and the patient is given enough freedom of choice. So he decides which treatment he can take and how much he can accept the doctor's decisions for him. So there is mutual conversation, both of them decide together which is the best method of treatment. So this will be the best model. Already in some parts of the world, this model of doctor-patient relationship has started, but in India it is more of the second type, which is the guidance cooperation model. But in rural areas, villages where uneducated people are there, still India, there are doctors who follow the active passive model. So this is about the doctor patient relationship. Okay, so we'll go on to the next topic, which is the medical autonomy and medical dominance. Okay, so what is medical autonomy? You should understand the term. Autonomy means freedom, dominance means being dominant. Okay, so let's see what medical autonomy is first. Medical autonomy is the publicly accepted control that the medical profession exercises over the terms and conditions of its work. See, I'll tell you an example. If you are a nurse, okay, the Nursing Council of India tells that only nurses can use the word nurse. No other professional can use the word nurse. Okay, so that means the profession actually has control over what words are used about its work. Same way, doctors, suppose you are an orthopedic surgeon, all the words and terms and conditions of your work, it's decided by you. Same thing for any other doctor. So the doctors decide what work they are going to do and under what terms they are going to do the work. For example, they can say, I will work from 8 to 5, and that is my decision. Nobody can question. So who is there above the doctor in a hospital? Nobody else. In a hospital, the doctors are the highest profession. Okay, that is how the society is. That is why it's called medical autonomy. So they have the freedom to decide what they do, how they do, when they do. So doctors have the freedom. So that is called medical autonomy. Okay. Next we'll see what medical dominance is. Medical dominance means that medical people or the professionals in the medical field. Who are the professionals in the medical field? Mainly the doctors, first line. Okay, second line there are nurses and other paramedical workers, but the first line is doctors. So the medical people or the doctors, they have authority over all other professions or occupations. So in any hospital, if you see, the doctors have more power. Okay, they dominate the other professions. Okay, and also the patients, they dominate even the patients or even sometimes the society. So that is what is called as medical dominance. Okay, we will be seeing in later chapters how in the present generation the dominance of medical professionals is decreasing. But in 1970, 1980 up to 2000, you can say that the medical professionals were autonomous and they were dominating the profession. Okay, so let's go in detail. So medicine and medical professionals have a considerable degree of officially and publicly respected authority. That is, officially, who all respects them? The officials of the government and the public. Everybody respects a doctor. Okay, whether it is a collector, whether it is a minister or the public people, everybody respects doctors, because when anybody becomes sick, they need to go to the doctor. That is why doctors are given a separate level of autonomy or freedom in the society. So the general perception is the doctors will not do any harm to the people. It is like the ethics. So doctors will not harm patients. So they will decide what is right or wrong for the patient. So this freedom of deciding what is right or wrong for the patient is the autonomy that the doctor has. So the doctor has the autonomy or the freedom to decide what is wrong or what is right, which treatment to give, which treatment not to give for a patient. So that is because the profession, the doctors, have convinced the public over a period of time, okay, that they need autonomy. So the doctors tell that if they do not have autonomy or freedom in treating the patient, then the patient will suffer. So generally the public, the court, and all other people decide that the doctors should have autonomy, then only they will be able to function properly. See, if a bus driver drives fast, the police can tell you are driving fast. Or if the bus driver has an accident, the police can arrest the driver. But if a doctor does surgery very fast and the patient dies, who will know whether the patient died because the doctor's surgery or because of his illness? Nobody will know. Okay, so people believed the doctors that whatever they do will be for the right for the society, and the doctors also behaved like that. I am not saying the doctors did not behave like that. 99% of the doctors also behaved ethically, correctly, and they did the right job for the benefit of the patient. But very rarely there were instances of doctors doing negative things also. Okay, so the freedom of the doctor to decide about the treatment is called clinical freedom. So the doctor can decide what treatment to give, when to give, how to give. So he has the professional authority to judge what is right for a patient. So this is called clinical freedom. So let us see what are the types of autonomy that a medical professional can enjoy. The first freedom is clinical or technical autonomy. Okay, clinical or technical autonomy means the right of the medical professional to set standards and evaluate clinical performance. That is, the doctor decides what is his standard. Okay, and he will decide what is the best method of treatment. So this is clinical or technical autonomy. So that is right only, because nobody else can tell what is right, because there is no medical professional who studies more than a doctor. So that is why the doctors have clinical or technical autonomy. Next is the political autonomy. Political autonomy means the doctors have the right to make policy decisions, and they are considered to be the experts on health and medicine. This we can argue to an extent, because the autonomy for political autonomy, deciding on policies, need not be only doctors. It can include other health professionals also. Okay, and equal say in the matter should be there for all professionals. So political autonomy is the second type of autonomy that doctors enjoy, but I personally feel that it can be questioned. So you can decide whether you want to question this autonomy. The third autonomy is the economic autonomy. That is, the doctors decide on the remuneration or amount of money that they can charge for their work. So this actually, it can be scrutinized. These days, for example, you are hearing in the news that coronavirus treatment, that the government decides that there should be a maximum fee that the doctors can collect. Okay, so here the economic autonomy of the doctor is gone. The politicians decide how much the doctor should earn for his treatment of coronavirus. Okay, so that is our economic autonomy. Then we'll come to medical dominance and the causes. So we already studied what is medical dominance. What are the causes for the medical dominance? Okay, the first cause is, generally and culturally, the doctors are the ones who decide who is sick. Okay, as per Talcott Parsons' sick role theory, nobody in the world can decide if a patient is sick. Only the doctor can decide that the patient is sick. That is culturally accepted. So that is one reason for the dominance of the doctors. The second is the medical dominance over patients. Okay, patients are sick, so the doctors dominate over them. The third is medical dominance over other professions. Okay, what are the other professions? Nursing, physiotherapy, pharmacy, medical sociology, lab. So there are many professions, but who dominates? The doctors dominate. They are the decision makers, they are the policy makers. They decide what is the right treatment for the patient. Okay, so the other professionals do what the doctor tells them to do. Okay, so that is the reason for medical dominance. Okay, so let us see one example of medical dominance, and we'll take the nursing as the example. Nursing is a profession which is as strong as medical profession. Okay, it started in the mid 20th century. Nursing has developed quite a lot, but even then, those days it lacked professional status, because always the nurses used to follow the doctor's orders regarding treatment of a patient. Okay, so unless nursing has a unique area of work, that is, it is not based on doctor's orders, till then it will always be controlled by the doctors. Okay, so it cannot be a full profession, because doctors will always control what the nurses are doing. Okay, so that is one reason why medicine always has dominance over the other professions, or medical professionals or doctors have dominance over the other professions. But the other way of looking at it is, doctors will never allow other professions to become independent. Okay, otherwise, if the other professions like nursing become independent, then doctors will lose their dominant position. So these are two reasons why dominance over other professions by doctors is present, but it is slowly changing. In the next chapter, we'll see how this dominance of doctors is changing, how their autonomy is changing. But this is prevalent even today to some extent, and it was really prevalent in the previous years. Okay, so with that we have completed the medical autonomy and medical dominance. The next chapter we will be seeing about decline of medical autonomy. Okay, why there is a decline in the medical autonomy. That will be in the next class. Thank you.